Welcome to The Heat Source, the podcast where we learn everything we can about hot sauce one bottle at a time. We are your hosts, Mike and Matt, and today we're trying Whiz Wit by Mammoth Sauce Company. Let's heat up! We are back after a much longer hiatus than I think we've ever had on the show so far.
Yeah.
We are back for episode 8 of our traditional episodes with a pretty unique hot sauce.
Yeah. I'd say probably the most unique one that we've had so far.
Yeah, there's a few.
I don't know about the taste yet, but at least from
what it's selling.
An ingredient. Yeah.
What it's kind of offering and what it's going to deliver. So, yeah. So we are back from a hiatus of Mike gone out to Italy.
Yeah. Ciao, by the way.
Ciao. Yeah. Is that what they say?
So it took me a while to shut off. Like, I don't speak Italian, but like you kind of brush up on basic command or not commands, but like basic interaction.
Yeah.
We're at the airport in Chicago flying back after our flights got canceled. We finally made it back after 3 weeks, but I think we ordered sushi and the waitress left and I was like, grazie, which is thank you in Italian. Yeah. And my wife was like, we're back in the States, right? And I was like, yeah, I just said thank you.
It does come across a little bit different though. Like in the States, if someone was like, if I was waiting on a table and they're just like, hey, grazie. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guy. Like, relax.
Didn't even know I did it. She had to explain it to me.
Like, unless you're also speaking with a heavy Italian accent where I'm like, oh, you're from that country. I would be like,
no, it was me just being an American trying to say thank you.
I think it was, I'm trying to remember what movie it was. I think it was Beethoven, where like the guy that you didn't like in that movie, the villain, he said ciao. I think that was, it was like he wears a suit, slick back hair, he says ciao.
Yeah.
I might be wrong with the movie, but I remember someone, like ciao was part of the thing where as a kid I was like, ooh, he talks in Italian when he doesn't have to. He's weird. So, yeah, you were gone for 3 weeks. We had some quick fire episodes, but we are back to try Mammoth Sauce Company's Whiz Wit, which we've had for a while because Mammoth, I've been following them and they've been following us for pretty close to the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the first ones that I had heard about, that kind of interacted with us. So
yeah, I think
excited.
It was one of those names that we kind of initially were like, oh, what a crazy name. And then we realized, oh, this is in line with like hot sauce names of like, yeah, you got to find something that catches. And
right.
The logo definitely relays that, which we'll get into. But
as a Pleistocene animal lover, second to dinosaurs, I'm digging it.
Can you just quickly say what Pleistocene means?
So it's like your Ice Age.
For the people that don't know, yeah. I obviously know. I get it.
So it's like your Ice Age animals.
Yeah.
Like your 10,000 years ago to, 100,000 years ago, something like that.
Your Ray Romano animals.
Exactly.
You have kids.
The movie Ice Age is the Pleistocene, yes.
My kids have just entered.
They're back.
Yeah. The kids are enjoying the summertime, so we're on the trampoline, and apparently their energy is still full tilt. But yeah, the logo, we'll get into that. We have a couple things to catch up on just because it's been so long. You were obviously in Italy. I went to a Boston hot sauce festival that there's a couple reels that I made, a couple posts that I made about it, and you kind of caught up a little bit from that, but it was so cool. It was, I kind of went in with nervous energy of, at minimum, just go in and experience my first hot sauce festival.
Right.
Never been to one. Mm-hmm. And I was glad that it was, I think I told you this, I was glad it was only 25 vendors. Because if I went to like the Texas Hot Sauce Fest, or not Texas, the New York Hot Sauce Fest, that's like 60 to 70, 75 maybe.
It was good to dip your toes into.
I tried everything.
Yeah.
And if I tried everything at the other, I would have been... And I think they also probably would have had more challenge sauces at the other one. Yeah. This one had a couple really hot ones, but super flavor forward on all of it.
Yeah.
So, and it was the hot sauce festival that Lauren from Hot Gram had mentioned to us. Mm-hmm. And so got to meet him in person, meet him and his wife. And that was, super great. They got to meet my dad, who literally has built recipes from the ideas of the sauces he's tried.
Yeah.
So it was a really unique experience. It was weird having people that have listened to the podcast already or saw us interact with them on Instagram or just like their content, to see that reaction of appreciation for us just like trying sauce and talking about it.
Yeah.
Which that's really all we're doing.
Right.
And we're still learning.
That'd be a strange feeling. Like if someone were to be like, of the show or something like that, I'd have this weird feeling of like, I'm a dude hanging out in the shadows behind a microphone. Like,
yeah, it's like,
I don't know a whole lot.
We're not in some big fancy, like, we're not in the kitchen, like studying the sauce. We're trying the sauce. We're learning about it. We're trying to share the experience and, hopefully help them get more, coverage to places maybe they haven't. I know Michigan is a place. My dad has made sandwiches using the hot sauce from Hot Graham, and people have then made those sandwiches for other people, some that don't even like hot sauce but are enjoying the flavor.
I haven't tried it yet, but you told me about it, and that as a Reuben lover, sounds real interesting.
We'll get into it when I actually make it, because we'll record a whole video. I talked to Lauren about recording a reel so you can see the step-by-step process. We're going to do that with a couple recipes. I'm excited for what I could, once we try this one from Mammoth, what kind of clicks, because I don't think this is a default fish taco one. Yeah. As much as you might try. But it is something where showing recipes that using hot sauce in a way that people that don't like hot sauce aren't going to just immediately go, oh, you just doused it in hot sauce, I don't want it. Yeah. It's in the dressing, it's baked into the bread, it's used as a marinade for...
Using it as an ingredient instead of just a topper.
Yeah, so that's one of the big takeaways is introducing my dad to the hot sauce world at Boston's Hot Sauce Fest, and his recipe mind just going, we can bake this into a focaccia bread. We can put this in a cabbage slaw and like marinate it. I'm just like, oh, you're going in directions I was not ready.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I should have been furiously writing it down, because then he's like, what's this note that says warm up cabbage? I'm like, oh, warm up sauce, marinate it in the cabbage. He's like, oh, I did not think that.
Threw it in the microwave.
Yeah. So the notes, there was a little bit of a memento going through the notes and trying to backwards convert it into what it was.
But I want to know if there's anyone from the show that thinks that was me or something. So they think I'm just like your dad, essentially.
We were pretty quick to introduce him as my dad, and it is something the people that knew the show know that your name's Mike. His name's obviously Ted. Okay. But I am curious if anybody just defaulted to that and just didn't say anything. They're like, wow, older pairing than I thought.
Yeah, right.
Than I thought it was. The other thing, before we get to more of your Italy experience, because I have a couple questions. The other thing is, in one day actually from when this airs, so tomorrow on Thursday, there is the Hot Sauce Summit, which is, I'm trying to think if it's the 5th one. I don't know which one it is, but it is our second one that at least one of us will be attending. Very excited about that. Very excited to see, learn about the speaker, kind of get into the discussion now that I have a little more experience. I actually might want to prepare some questions from a promotional or social media aspect of how they do things, because we're learning there's a lot of stuff we don't know. But very excited to get into the second Hot Sauce Summit, which tickets are still available. It's a digital summit. You just jump on a computer. Yeah. And it's super informative, even if you're just a fly on the wall, like which I was mostly last time. It was a great experience.
Yeah. I think I might buy a ticket. I don't know if I'll be able to swing by your place, but I'll probably hop on and be a fly on the wall.
Well, and they do breakout groups where they have different people asking different questions. So if you're on a different video, we can go into separate groups, hear the questions, talk to people and whatnot. I'll give you the same background that I made on the fly when I realized, I should probably have my video on. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited they have the next 4 scheduled out. So I see every quarter, I think they're going to have one. I think the next one after this will be in September. But that's going to be really cool. It's going to be interesting to see your experience, your takeaways from that as my kids run away. So the question I already asked you, but I wanted to ask you on the episode. So how much spice did you find in Italy?
Almost 0.
Okay.
Not
super surprising considered I talked to Angela's family, who is heavily Italian. Yeah. And I asked them about spice and things like that. And none of them are really big spice people. Red pepper flake was the only thing. And I think you mentioned that as well.
I would say that was the spiciest dish. We had red pepper flake in one. We had some marinated and fried anchovies, but they were marinated in like chopped jalapenos or sliced jalapenos. Okay. But they were it was essentially green pepper. It was very mild. So those two things, heat was so hard to come by. We were at this massive market and I saw a chain of dried chilies and I had to take a photo of it. Because I'm just wow, there it is.
It's a relic.
2.5 weeks into the trip. and there's a pepper.
It is weird because we do have one of the sauces that I purchased right when we started because I was just searching whatever I could hot sauce, just trying to learn before we followed so many sauce makers. I found that Forelli Italian hot sauce.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what it tastes like because we put hot sauce on pizza. We put it on, I'll throw it on lasagna. I just threw it on spaghetti last night.
Yeah.
Put the funky garlic from Sam's Sauce on some spaghetti. But it's really not something that there's a default like, oh, for spaghetti or for pasta, you gotta put. We talked about Galactic Hobo, the OG sauce, that red wine vinegar lending itself to pasta.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, but like that's not the way it's marketed.
Right.
And so I don't know if it's just the Italian community doesn't do spice as much.
I just don't think they do it. Like, and after going there, like the food's obviously very different than what you get here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was all very good. We had one bad meal, but we went to the place for the aesthetics.
Okay.
Like this place knows you're essentially you're on the second floor of a building.
Yeah.
And the second floor is a lemon grove. So it's like a lemon woods that you're eating in. So people go for the aesthetics. So they know like we can get away with very bad, very expensive food.
Like, people are still going to come.
Yes.
Even if it's bad word of mouth, they'll be like, hey, how was the food? Wasn't that great?
Setting was
Lemon
amazing.
Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the setting was awesome. It was worth it, you know, for the bad food that we got. But other than that, like thinking back to take that out of the equation, thinking back to my worst meal was a great meal. Like we did not have bad food the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have a hard time thinking that there'd be bad food over there, considering all the food that I love that originated from Italy.
But no, like I see why. Could you talk to anyone?
Yeah.
Who's like been to Italy or something like that, and like the food is universally loved.
Yeah.
And it's because it's so simple. Like this is my theory. Is like it's very safe food for 99% of eaters.
Okay.
Where you go to some other, like if you go to Mexico, like most things are spicy or very citrusy.
Yeah.
You know, some people might not like that, but you go to Italy and everything's just like, it's very friendly because it's very simple. It's like you get pasta with olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice that's like reduced, and some cheese.
I mean, that's all you need.
Yeah. It's good and it works, but it's not risky food.
There's some very basic recipes. Like there's a simple like butter sauce pasta that I make, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's, if you've seen the movie Chef with Jon Favreau, it's the pasta he makes for Scarlett Johansson early on in the movie, and it looks amazing, but it's literally like parsley, butter, olive oil, salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of parm. I think it's like pasta e olio or something. I'm probably butchering that, and I apologize. So, but it is the simplest pasta, and it's fantastic.
Oh yeah. And so that's how all the food was there. It's like when you got, like we probably did one pizza a day. And we got weird looks because we'd sit at like 4 to 6 sit down restaurants a day.
Yeah.
And split meals. Like we were trying to eat as much as possible.
I mean, I would do that.
I put some weight on.
My family is very food based with our vacations.
Yeah.
Where I could tell you what vacations I went on back in like the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like back when I was like 18. And I'm like, oh yeah, I went to Alaska. I'd be like, oh, how was it? Like, oh, we went to a couple cities. I don't remember the name. 72-hour marinated caribou steak. Fantastic. The fried halibut on the peninsula of, or on the spit of Homer.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. It's like, do you go anywhere? It's like, I told you. To get a steak, and I got some fish.
I just told you.
Yeah, like, I can still remember a place out in the state of Washington. So yeah, like, the more meals you can kind of get pockets of that I would be down for that. So if it's like, oh, no 3 meals a day. 3 meals up to lunch.
Yeah.
And keep going.
Yeah. And they knew we were Americans, so we come out, you know, no pun intended, guns blazing, like ordering off the menu. And there was people, or like the waiters and waitresses, they were like, we'd order 5 things. Yeah. And they'd be like, hold on. I'll bring you the first 2, you finish that, and then we'll talk once you're done. Like they cut us off like 4 times.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not big on wasting food. Like we were confident we could have eaten all that.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. They're just like, you're being American right now. You need to knock that off.
I would have been cut off for sure. That would be me. I don't get cut off at a bar. I get cut off at a restaurant where they're like, I'm sorry, but that is way too many things. Also, this is a very unique episode in we're smelling a Philly cheesesteak we got from a local place.
I just keep staring at a cheesesteak laying in front of us.
Because the Whiz Wit is a cheesesteak flavor inspired hot sauce, I got just a simple 6-inch Philly cheesesteak from a local place, Big Sean's Cheesesteak, which does get their bread from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So they tried to be as authentic as possible. I'm not going to say it's a cheesesteak like you would get in Philly. I know that that is very hallowed ground, but it's the best I could find that wasn't like a generic place that says, oh yeah, we do a Philly cheesesteak, and it's like
Subway.
Yeah, like Subway, or like there was a Charlie's where I'm like, oh, where's that? It's in a mall. And I'm like,
Yeah.
It's a food court one.
Right.
So it does smell good. So we're going to try that after we do the straight up test. We're probably going to have some other things, some tangents we're going to talk about your Italy trip and about other things. But let's open up the bottle and kind of get started into the facts of this.
Yeah. And I just noticed that there's a 1 6-inch sub and no knife to cut. So
Yeah, we're going to wishbone it. We're going to each grab a side.
are we? Okay.
That's the hand we've been dealt.
If you were going to say, like, we're going to Lady and Tramp this thing, I'd probably be like, you know what? You let me know how that is.
if we had a TikTok account that we needed follows and likes, we'd be doing that, but we're not TikTokers. So no perforation.
I don't think so. I'm just trying to find a weak point.
With Mammoth, there are no weaknesses.
Except for when they all died off.
Well, yeah, I mean, meteors are kind of a weakness for everybody.
All right, this is going to be the worst one yet.
It squealed.
I kind of like that.
It's definitely the most unique.
Oh, that's funny.
It squealed. So, again, this is a Whiz Wit hot sauce.
Color. Pale green.
Yeah. Yeah, it has a greenish... So when you think Whiz Wit, you think cheese, so you're thinking yellow, but it has more of a green because it's got, I think it's jalapeno and serrano. It might have the list on the bottle there.
A cheesesteak inspired hot sauce with serrano and jalapeno peppers, caramelized onions, cheesy nutritional yeast, some smoke for that grilled meat feel, and a blend of our herbs and spices.
Yep.
The sauce is vegan.
Yeah, so that is something that when I asked him about the nutritional yeast, and we'll get into it a little bit more once we get a taste of this, but there is a reason behind the nutritional yeast more than just...
Ooh.
Do you like that?
Yes. Kind of cheesy. It's cheesy and peppery.
Oh, yeah, that's good. So I just want to put this on nachos just from smelling it.
Let's try it first.
Well, I'm still going to put it on nachos. You can't stop me. The consistency is a good... Like, if you think of like a nice, smooth cheese sauce, it's not like
it smells
thick.
like a cheesesteak.
I mean, I think that's the pepper and onions with the nutritional yeast is just like that added.
Oh.
Don't get it on this.
Yeah, we're picking up where we left off. Just me making a mess on the table again.
I know. We're just going to get like a splatter art tablecloth so no one can tell.
All right. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to go real good on that.
Yeah.
If you didn't tell me that this was essentially made for cheesesteak or inspired by cheesesteak, I'd probably tell you that go good on a cheesesteak.
Go good on a hoagie in general.
That's a sandwich hot sauce.
I'm definitely getting the jalapeno and the serrano.
It's kind of spicy.
It's got good spice to it. The spice is pretty clear up front, and then it's just kind of lingering on the back of my throat. Like the jalapeno, the peppers and onions, I'm getting all those. The nutritional yeast, which gives it the cheesy, almost sometimes nutritional yeast gives it like a nutty flavor to it. It's not a whole lot. It's not like...
Right.
It's because I know that nutritional yeast, it's like usually like flakes that can thicken. It's also used as a thickener. So if they use that too much to try to get that flavor on there, there's a risk of thickening up the sauce. But it's a really good consistency.
Yeah, I like that. That's got a good spice to it.
Yeah, that's really... But it also... The peppers and onions is what I'm kind of focusing on when I'm tasting it just straight up. Because, yeah, you can put peppers and onions on a couple different things, but this is literally that flavor in sauce form with that heat.
I definitely get the onions, too. Your kid's got a good 40 time.
My son hates onions, so he just went running. It's like, no onions. Doesn't want to tear up.
That's really unique.
It's got good heat, though. Like, I'm surprised at how much heat there was. I know that... Does it say anything on the bottle about the heat? I don't think so. It is a refrigerate after opening. I should say that more after we try these, because it's...
Usually they don't have time to make it to the fridge.
This one is a bigger bottle, though. This one's, it's 5 ounces, so it's a little bit bigger than our normal. But you, coming back from Italy without any spice, you guys have been burning through the hot sauces.
Yeah, that was as good as the food was. Just like, give me... I need a tingle on my tongue, because red pepper flakes don't really do much other than flavor.
Right.
But
It can heat up the oil pretty good. Like if you put in red pepper flakes in the oil before you make like a sauce.
yeah.
It could, but you have to add a decent amount.
I'm trying to think. We did come across red pepper flaked oil one time.
Like a chili and like a
just like a chili oil.
Yeah. That would be good.
Yep. We bought a ton of shipped back a ton of olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of balsamic vinegar, like a 15-year-old balsamic. That was really good.
I love balsamic vinegar, but I don't know if I've ever had an aged one or like a older one. My parents might. I'd have to see if they had any because they go over to Israel.
Yeah.
And they go over on vacation over in Europe a few times. They've been to Italy. So I wonder what they brought back.
Mm-hmm.
But
we got black truffles back with some white truffle.
Okay.
I was a little nervous that TSA was going to take those for themselves, but
yeah, it
worked out.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I never know the rules with any of that shipping back. Like we just going to Boston, we flew into Boston and I was worried about shipping bottles and not being able to like do carry on because of the quantity.
Yeah.
So we drove back.
Yeah.
Drove back and stopped in Scranton, Pennsylvania for the night, which as an Office fan, I was geeking out. And they're kind of used to it. Like we went to the hotel and my dad's like, so you get a lot of questions about The Office? He's like, oh yeah. And I'm literally, the only other shirt I packed for the next day was a The Office t-shirt. And I was like covering it because I'm like,
you just look like a hard fanboy at that point.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to stop in Scranton. We just looked at the map and said, okay, how far do we want to drive? That was the stop.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing, it's, wearing the shirt of the band that you go to see. Like, don't be that guy. I was that guy unintentionally because had I known, I probably wouldn't have packed it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have 2 other t-shirts. Angela's sister got me a Stanley playing basketball shirt where he's got like one hand in the air, dribbling all awkward.
I love that.
That's a good shirt too.
That's a good episode.
But getting into a little bit about the hot sauce company here at Mammoth Sauce Company. So it was founded by Steve Gill. I'm going to give you one guess on where he's based out of. Like, where would this cheesesteak?
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Okay. So my mind went to mammoths. I'm like, all right, so probably Siberia or Alaska.
Yeah, you went right to the dinosaur information.
Right.
It's like, all right, let's break this down
way
by fossils.
Way overthought that one. Yeah, that's
know.
right. We're a hot sauce podcast. I'm sorry.
But he actually, at a young age, like 2.5, his family moved from Ireland to the States. And so growing up, because I found this out actually at the Boston Festival, because I talked to Barry Shannon from Barry's Hot Sauce, who's also from Ireland. I think he lived there much longer. But Ireland isn't known for like spice in their cuisine. So his dad, I think he said his dad, like the most, like too much spice to him is like black pepper and garlic, too spicy.
Yeah.
His mom is like topped out at Frank's.
Mm-hmm.
So like his family doesn't do spice. In high school, friends introduced him to hot sauce, and then he just kind of took off from there.
Right.
But like growing up in Irish cuisine, it wasn't a thing, which is very interesting to think of. Some of like, we talk about Italy not being big on spice. We talk about Ireland not being big on spice. It's like you always think, oh, everyone's got to have their own hot sauce. I found a Polish hot sauce.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I found it actually in a store like just down the road from my parents.
Right.
And so you think everyone's going to have a hot sauce or everyone's going to like spice, but it's not the case. He actually, when developing his sauce, he works a 9-to-5 desk job. And so he needed a creative outlet. And he's done a few things. So on his website, he listed he's a former rugby player. He talks about being a former bread baker, former home brewer. He actually was a former woodworker as a side gig.
Was there a collision?
Maybe wrestling, WWE style wrestling. There was a side gig that he had with his brother doing woodworking. But when his son was born, his free time kind of decreased and he went into some fermenting. Because fermenting is something you do the work, but then it kind of sits and you let time take care of that.
Right.
He would do pickles. He would do jams, jellies, sauerkraut, hot sauce.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Family loved it. Friends requested more of it. They even offered, I found this funny. He said they even offered to give him the supplies if he'll just make it. So it's like if you were so good at making something where it's like, hey, we'll give you the peppers and the ingredients.
I can see why they did that though, because fermenting things is kind of scary. Like you're essentially controlling the rot of something.
Well, and that's why
intimidating.
Part of it is a lot of people shy away from fermenting for commercial use, like commercial sales, because there is so many more hoops to deal with. It's harder to legally sell fermented sauce because there's so many more restrictions or so many more guidelines. So he did, when he decided to go to start a business, his wife pushed him to try to start a small business with this. He switched from the fermented to the non-fermented because of the easier legal way to produce it.
Right.
He had been working on this recipe since like 2018. There was a post he did on Instagram that talked about this is when it all began. And it was 2018 that he showed the post. But he went at least an Instagram official where he started promoting it back in 2021 around June. He was one of the guys that's also on the Hot Sauce Summit. So I saw him on the last one. He also, just as how much he supported us, he's posted recently about making a wet burrito using both his Red Jupiter sauce, which we'll do a quickfire episode on, and this Whiz Wit, which totally makes sense, throwing that on a burrito with peppers and onions and
that like
flavor.
Cheesiness on there. Like that's the whole point of a wet burrito is let's see how much cheese I can get on this thing.
But he also was the one that did the lengthwise cut of the egg roll from the one episode we talked about, and then poured, I think it was the Whiz Wit, he poured that one on. And that also, like with an egg roll that has, you've got your meat, your cabbage, your onions, throwing that heat on there.
You're changing food culture with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, wait, so you took a Whiz Wit, which is by name Philadelphian, and you put it on an egg roll. But yeah, I don't see the problem. Yeah. Although, Big Sean's cheesesteaks that we got this from, they do a whole array of egg rolls. They do a Philly cheesesteak egg roll.
Huh.
So.
Interesting.
I'm seeing a crossover right there for one of these lunches when I don't want to be productive in the afternoon.
Like as much as I love them, I tend to avoid them because they're like a sleeping pill to me.
Spring rolls are the better healthy, quote unquote.
Well,
choice.
I was talking about Phillies, but that's like
there's really no
it's
alternative.
just a foot-long sleeping pill.
There's no spring roll equivalent of a Philly cheesesteak. Just not an option. But yeah, so he's done a few things, interacted with us, supported the podcast. The Whiz Wit, originally he was using powdered cheese sauce to get some of the cheesiness in it, but he switched to the nutritional yeast because he had friends and family that are vegan, and he wanted to be inclusive to let them also have the sauce and be able to use it. So he went with the nutritional yeast, which, have you used nutritional yeast at all before? Are you familiar with it that much?
Is that the yeast you use if you were to bake bread?
No, it's similar but different.
Okay.
So it's different than bread yeast. It is an inactive yeast commonly made from sugarcane or beet molasses. I have my fact sheet on this.
Interesting.
I have used it when I did a plant-based, like 60-day challenge trying to do no meat. Well, my doctor said it'd be a little more complicated if I did no meat altogether. So I did like chicken once a week. Just to get enough like basic protein or whatever. But I use nutritional yeast in a lot of like seasonings, use it to season on top, use it in a sauce. It didn't work great as like it's just as good as mac and cheese. It's not. It's different. Yeah. It's fine. It's just different. In this, it works really well because it just gives you a little subtle flavor to it.
You could fool someone that there is cheese in that. Yeah. So I guess, I don't know if you're going to explain this, but like nutritional yeast tastes like cheese?
It has a somewhat cheesy, somewhat nutty taste to it. Okay. You know how cashews are used a lot of times as a cheese substitute for a cheese sauce? Yeah. Really? Same thing. It's like a nutty flavor that lends itself to kind of that umami cheesiness.
Gotcha.
Other cultures have different names for this, which I found interesting because nutritional yeast doesn't sound super alluring.
Sounds like healthy yeast.
Yeah. It's like, hey, do you want me to sprinkle some nutritional yeast on there? And it's like, no. The one name that's like the least effort they put in to try to make it sound better was savory yeast flakes. I'm like, it's still
sounds like a healthy morning cereal.
You guys didn't eliminate the word that bothers people. Like, good idea.
Right.
You've changed it, but not enough. Some other cultures call it nooch, nutritional yeast, nooch. Yeshi. And then Brewfax is from Australia. I don't remember the other two, but I remember Brewfax is from Australia.
Right, those last three are acceptable. That first one is like, he kind of almost made it worse.
Honestly, nooch sounds like something that they were trying to like gear towards like the same people they sell Axe body spray. Like, dude, hit me with some nooch. And it's like the cheese seasoning. Also sounds like it might be a little inappropriate. But interesting enough, nutritional yeast, it's a complete protein, so high in protein. Mm-hmm. It enhances your immune function and carries antiviral and antibacterial properties. Yeah. So it's super good for you.
And capsaicin's good for you. So
this is like the healthiest hot sauce we've ever had. Like, I'm going to go out
unofficially.
Unofficially.
Potentially a healthy hot sauce.
TBD.
I don't know if you can actually say that, but why not, right?
I mean, when I run out this door, I'm not going to be able to run a 10K, but I couldn't before, so it's fine.
Doesn't hurt you at all.
Yeah. So, but the Whiz Wit, the name obviously catches you where it's a cheesesteak hot sauce. It's automatically gives you a food that you associate it with. So it's not just hot sauce to be hot sauce. It's something where you got to put it on cheesesteak.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit. Do you want to? I know that you've been asking about it before. Do you want to go into the logo?
Yes.
Okay.
Please. Por favore.
So this was not the original logo.
Okay.
When he was making the sauce for his friends, it was slightly different.
Yep.
In the same vein, it was themed after the mythosaur from Boba Fett's armor from Star Wars.
That's so specific.
I knew this before we started researching this episode because he reached out to me because after he heard us talk about Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman, who are big fans of the podcast, he was like, "Hey, are you guys like big Star Wars fans?" And I'm like, I watch all the movies, never really read the books, but
yeah,
it's
like I don't have posters of them, but I've watched and I'm very familiar with all the movies.
Yeah, I mean, I as a kid pretended I had a lightsaber. Who didn't with a big wrapping paper tube?
Yeah,
of course. So that's I think that's the standard Star Wars fandom for most kids that grew up in that era. Right. But this was, I got a picture, a visual aid. That was the original logo.
I've seen that logo. Yes.
Probably in the
I saw it on the way here. That's where I saw that. On the way here, there was a car in front of me that had that sticker.
Oh.
That's so funny. I'm like, man, that thing looks so familiar.
So it's a mythosaur. So it was called Mythosaur Sauce Company.
That's so funny.
When it was just like among friends and family. It's literally the crest on Boba Fett's.
Yeah.
It's now, not to confuse people with Mandalorian if you've been watching that. That was a mudhorn, which it looks more like a rhinoceros.
He had he had that on there too.
He had that one? Yeah.
On the back of his car, yeah.
So that guy must be a Mandalorian. But this one is the crest on the shoulder of Boba Fett. And we'll post a picture of it because I'm sure we'll put that. That actually makes more contextual sense.
Yeah.
So the photo with context.
Yeah. I would have never known that, but I've seen this logo a lot.
But so they liked the design of the pepper tusks. They liked the look, the feel of the logo.
Yeah.
But they had to adjust it because I don't know if anyone wants to really go up against Star Wars from a
copyright standpoint.
I mean, if you can, that's big money right there, especially with the resurgence of all like Mandalorian too. Side note, Obi-Wan is really interesting. I'm enjoying that.
I haven't started it yet, but yeah, been interested in it. I got for our wedding, we got one of those Alexas with the screens on it.
Oh, okay.
My only complaint is that thing follows you. The screen is on a pivot, and if the camera's on, it tracks you. Don't like it at all.
I don't like that.
I always keep the camera closed, but it'll show you like ads for things.
Yeah.
And it showed
not a sponsor, by the way.
Yeah, not a sponsor. Other than that, it's great. She listens wonderfully,
I mean, if it was a sponsor, we're doing a terrible job.
If you're into cooking though, which my wife and I very much so are, throws the recipe right up there in front of you. Instead of goofing around with your phone, like hands-free, hey Alexa, pull this up, shows the recipe right in front of you. Great. But no, we saw like Ewan McGregor and, is it Hayden Christensen?
Yeah.
Yeah, saw them up there and got me all kinds of excited. Haven't watched it yet, but I will.
It's really good. You don't have to watch any of the previous stuff. At this point, you don't have to watch any of the previous stuff to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But that's our Star Wars podcast. We'll get into that on that. I don't have a name for it yet. Going off the Alexa tangent, though, we have the Google Home Hub, also not a sponsor, but it's the screen that we have set up in the kitchen because I use it for either playing videos while I'm cooking or using it for the step-by-step recipes.
Yeah.
So that is really nice. Most of the time, it's to distract my kids and I play Baby Shark while I'm cooking.
Right. So
they just get closer and closer where eventually they're in the kitchen staring at the screen like 2 inches away.
Yeah.
But going back to the Star Wars logo that they originally had, the Mythosaur, because I was like, I don't know if this has ever been in a movie or anything. Up until 2013, the Mythosaur had never appeared alive in any Star Wars content. It was always either a symbol on somebody like Boba Fett, or it was a skeleton or fossils that they had found. Until 2013, when in one of the books, there was a live mythosaur in the Bounty Hunter Code, The Files of Boba Fett. I looked that up. I'm not that big of a nerd to know that off the top of my head.
I was just thinking before you said that. That's like extra nerdy.
That's why I'm wearing my glasses to push them up as I talk about it.
All of Star Wars is nerdy. That's like another level.
I mean, I know some people that have read all the books. I take it back. I've read one book, the first book of the series of Han Solo origin books.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very good. It's very long. I'm not a huge in-depth reader.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that kept me going, but very well done. But then they did change in September 2021. They changed this logo to the now Mammoth logo, which had a similar feel, but now it's not copyright. And that was done by an artist named Sean McGarry, which in his post, he tagged him, and he does some other cool artwork that I saw on his Instagram.
I like both logos, but it's just funny, like, Star Wars is so massive. If they ever came after him, be like, you can't tell me you guys don't have better things to do right now than to come after a small batch hot sauce guy.
Right. And
like, are you not busy right now?
It's like, would the issue of them, like, suing him be enough publicity to keep him going? But
he should have stuck with it. Just would have blown him up.
That's one of those, like, you put everything on, like, red and just let it ride. Man, the sauce is really good.
I like it.
They changed the logo. I felt bad before the episode started. You were like, do we get into the Mammoth? Like, why did they choose Mammoth as a big dinosaur fan? And I'm like, oh, you're going to be bummed.
Star Wars is still good.
Star Wars is good. We both love Star Wars. We both love super fans Natalie Portman and Keira Knightley, who listen to the pod.
Hi, ladies. I know you sent us some messages and wanted to give you a shout out. So
I assume
hope you're both doing well.
Any missed call that is a number I don't know, I'm assuming it's them. What was it? Oh, Natalie Portman's going to be in the new Thor movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That looks really good.
Sure it does.
Really getting into the movies. Really getting into the movies on this episode.
Since you brought up mammoths, though,
yes,
I looked up mammoth facts.
That's good because I didn't go that path because I knew it wasn't the origin of it. So I don't know why, but I just feel like if there's any way to go dinosaur, you would. Yeah. Is mammoth considered dinosaur? Or is it just?
You know, I'm ashamed to say I don't know the actual definition of a dinosaur. I know that there's precursor to dinosaurs that look like dinosaurs.
Yeah. We really need to start getting a follow of like paleontologists and different because we talk about dinosaurs and fossils and the scientific side of everything enough where somebody should be listening to correct us.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, after the fact, here's the corrections from, I don't know a famous paleontologist, so I can't tell you.
Jack Horner. Duh.
There you go. You have mentioned Jack Horner to me before. I don't know why I didn't.
I know. You got some phone calls to make. I have a couple PTO days left for this year, and I was going to volunteer them to Jack Horner. He said he takes volunteers on his dig sites in the Badlands. So I'm Jack, when not if you listen to this, just reach out and I'll give you my phone number. I'm ashamed at the first person I thought of when I was trying to think of famous paleontologists. Alan Grant. No, that would have been a good one. I would not have felt ashamed Ellie
about
Sadler.
that. That also I would have felt no shame. Chris Pratt. He's not a paleontologist though. Isn't Ross Geller from Friends a paleontologist? I don't watch Friends. I don't know anything about Friends other than Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox. You shouldn't watch it because I think he's a paleontologist, and if he is, they belittle the fact that he's like a mid-20s paleontologist, which is an incredible feat. Right. Like, there's some things in Friends that when you think about it outside of television, you're like... Wait, in real life or in the show, he's a paleontologist? In the show, he's a paleontologist. Isn't it based out of, like, New York? Yeah. What's he digging up there? He works the museum. Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha. That makes more sense. He works the museum and also should have been fired like 20 times over. But it's a sitcom. But just the fact that it's mid-20s, he's in his mid-20s to start the show. And he's just, I'm a paleontologist. Right. Like, I don't think... You normally have to put in some grubbing time. Yeah. To get like a full-time job in paleontology. None of their professions make sense. It's the whole thing of like, they have that large of an apartment in New York. Yeah. And one of them's a waitress, one of them's like a struggling cook, and one just plays guitar at coffee bars. Yeah. I could go into a whole thing on that too. That's hilarious. Yeah, that was the first one I thought of, as I'm like, Ross Geller's a paleontologist. Alan Grant would have been a good fictional paleontologist though. Alan Grant is based off from Jack Horner. There you go. Man, photos without context are going to go If crazy. We can get Sam Neill on the podcast, he is the best Instagram out there. I love his Instagram. We'll follow him. I'm going to take a note. He just wants to hang out, do the occasional movie, and just be like a good guy. I'm following Sam Neill after this episode. Tag him in this one. I'll tag him, and his photo will be photos without context. Were you the one that told me about his like accent that he did for Jurassic Park? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's so funny. Where he tried to do originally an American. Steven Spielberg. Yeah, he was doing an American accent, which I think he's from New Zealand. Oh, yeah. Is it New Zealand? I think so. Gosh, you might have to cut that out. We probably just killed
his whole need to come on this
Anyway,
podcast.
Sam Neill, great actor.
Still love you no matter where you're from. If I remember correctly, Steven Spielberg was like, "Hey, like, don't speak like an American. Use your native accent."
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking normal, which is to us with an accent. And then a short time later, Steven Spielberg is like, that accent you've been working on, don't do that. And Sam Neill's like, that's just my voice. Like, so,
oh man,
no. So Grand Rapids is, and actually most of southern Michigan, we have a lot of mammoth skeletons.
You had mentioned today, I think it was, that there's actually one at the museum downtown.
Yeah, that was pulled out of the Grand River, like the big full one. And we're in a unique spot where we don't have the Badlands is constantly eroding and exposing material, where we live in a very flat place where not a lot of things get exposed.
Okay.
And in 2013, it's like a famous picture floating around the internet. It has been for years. I think it was 2013. Farmer was tilling up his cornfield, hit something, and then goes over there, starts digging a little bit. He's like, well, this is a bone. So I think he got a hold of Michigan State. Michigan State comes, and this will have to be a photo without context. They pull up just this massive, perfect, full mammoth skeleton in this farmer's cornfield in, I think it was Granville.
So when you say full skeleton, is it
the skull, the full skull with the tusks?
Because finding a full skeleton is like
super rare,
unheard of. Yeah.
Like you can get them.
Even Sue is like,
she was 80% complete, 85.
Yeah, Sue from the Chicago Field Museum.
Yep.
Yeah, which I want to get back to. Not in this episode, but like in Chicago.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like we're in a nerdy thing. Like most people sitting on the couch, probably watch TV. I have a fossil tracker on my phone that has all of the officially recorded fossils throughout the world. And you can sit there and you can click on each GPS site and it'll give you the information about that fossil found. So north of Grand Rapids, not a lot of mammoths. Here and there, the occasional like extinct black bear or something like that.
Okay.
But from Grand Rapids south, it's like mammoth.
So it
mastodon. So we have mastodons too, but
what's the major difference between mastodon and mammoth?
It's kind of like an African elephant to an Asian elephant. Like a mastodon's a little bit smaller. Their head's shaped a little different.
It's just not like there's no huge difference where it's like, oh, obviously it's like just
like side by side. You'd be like, okay, they're different.
Yeah.
But for the sake of conversation, pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
just a modified looking elephant.
We'll have to tag Jack Horner in this too and be like, hey, we had a Q&A about dinosaurs.
Right. Oh, there's something else I was going to say. Oh, do you remember the conversation we had about why people love mammoths?
Why they love mammoths?
Yeah. Because they're not around.
Oh, yeah. Where we had a discussion of like, what dinosaur would we, if I asked you, what dinosaur would you bring back?
Yeah.
And then you kind of talked about how if it was back, I would be less interested.
Yeah.
Because what was the thing that you use as an example today?
Couple examples. So like if you were to go to someone and say, if you could go back and see one animal, like if you could go back and see the largest animal that ever lived, would you do it? Most people would probably be like, yes, that'd be very interesting.
It'd be the Giganosaurus.
No, the blue whale is the largest animal that ever lived. And hardly anyone cares about it.
And it's here. It's now. Yeah.
So if the blue whale was dead, there'd be so many people that were like, can you imagine? If I had a time machine, I would go back and I would see the largest animal that ever lived. It's alive today. And people are like, yeah, they're there. I don't know where they live, but they're here somewhere.
When you think of like my son's favorite, the Mosasaurus, giant, not as big as that, but like it's a large, water dinosaur. Was it Megalodon? Huge shark. It's like, when I usually ask people, what dinosaur would you bring back? They go usually to like Brontosaurus, Brachiosaurus, like large, relatively friendly dinosaur. And it's like, yeah, I want the biggest one because it's just awe-inspiring. It's like, well, the most awe-inspiring thing as far as the largest mammal
is alive today and you don't really care about it.
I got it right. I said mammal.
Yeah.
The largest fish.
Yeah. But like another example is like mammoths. Like, and I'm not saying Mammoth Sauce Co is obsessed with mammoths, but like they're fun to think about. Like you fetishize mammoths.
Yeah. And
then if I were to reverse it and I were to say, like, let's say we had mammoths and elephants were extinct. If I said, Matthew, there used to be a mammoth type thing, and it was totally bald.
Totally hypoallergenic.
Yes. There used to be a hypoallergenic elephant running around.
Yeah.
You'd just be like, I would use my 1 of 3 time machine coins to go see that.
That's a whole nother. There's coins involved with the time machine?
Yeah, you put a coin, you get with 3 coins, you put it in the time machine. You never been in a time machine before?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
That's my ideal
Maybe
time machine. As you put it in, you dial the date.
Maybe I have. I just haven't been visited by it or had that opportunity.
But no, like if you flipped it, you wouldn't be obsessed with a mammoth. You'd be obsessed with a bald elephant that is no longer around.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. When you made the point before, there was no argument for me because it's like, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
But it is something where, like, you think of, what's the armored fish that Mason's obsessed with? The Dunkelosaurus or Dunkleosteus?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's like an armored fish. It looks terrifying and it's really cool looking. Like, that is something that I would love to see in real life. But also, the anglerfish that he loves that exists today is crazy and terrifying. And it's like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But wouldn't this be...
If those weren't around, you'd be like, that is nuts.
Like, there's a fish that looks like a
straight up monster
with a little light bulb hanging just as like a bait. Like,
that's funny.
All right. So I have my score.
I have mine.
We can go into the score here. I have a few more facts to discuss. Not facts, but just things to discuss adjacent to. But we also get to try it with the cheesesteak, so we have that coming. So do you want to go first?
With a
score.
Fact? Oh, score. Sorry, I'm still thinking about facts.
I know. We got a lot of facts. We're surprisingly doing pretty well on time because I know that we started recording like 5 to 7 minutes early.
Yeah.
So I'm actually surprised that I thought this was going to be a 2-hour episode.
So did I. 72.
So I did 80.
Yeah.
This is one, I'm thinking of my nachos.
Yep.
There's a few different, I love nachos because of its versatility.
Mm-hmm.
This could go on a lot of different styles of nachos.
Right.
This could go on my breakfast nachos. It could go on my traditional taco nachos.
Burrito.
Ooh, breakfast burrito. Like, it has that cheesy quality.
Biscuits
but really
and gravy. I'm sorry, hold on. Biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of
I
people
have a can
will put
of
like
biscuits
cheese
in my
on
fridge
them.
right now. I can...
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just thinking of food.
Never apologize about cutting me off for food ideas.
Especially biscuits and gravy.
Like breakfast pizza, put that on there.
I haven't had it. It's from a gas station. It's kind of scary.
Okay, it's from a gas station that has a legitimate commercial pizza oven.
Okay.
So I'll bring in a slice.
Which is funny. That's intimidating to me, but fly walkers, the hot dogs on the rollers.
Oh, yeah.
Like I heard that term at work. Someone down south, they call them fly walkers.
Yeah, I got stuff off the rollers today.
I love gas station hot dogs. Don't bother me at all. I think of a gas station pizza and I'm like,
Bacon cheeseburger hot dog. It should not exist. It's ground beef in a hot dog form. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, gas station pizza. I've had too many different gas station foods that I can't really talk about what's gross and what's not.
Right.
Gas station Chinese food.
I had
Indoor, a city called Door, just south of where we live.
Yeah.
Just in case people are like, indoors. Yeah. No duh. Indoor, there's a good Chinese restaurant literally inside of a gas station. And that's the only place I've gotten it from. I wouldn't trust it normally, but it was legitimately delicious.
Yeah. Some of my favorite Chinese food was from a food truck up in Benzonia, Michigan, which is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I drive by it every day. I'm like, all right, like they got me. I've seen them too many times to not try this place. It was phenomenal food.
At a certain point, you're like, there's a reason that they're still doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be popular or they just started.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple other things I have. As far as events for Mammoth Sauce Company, check their social media on their Instagram at Mammoth Sauce Co. for any markets or any fair locations. They do have 2 new sauces coming that he said that they're openly discussing, so it's not a big secret.
Mm-hmm.
A spicier version of the Whiz Wit.
Okay.
Which is interesting because I put this as a low 2.
I put it as a 2.
Yeah, it lingers.
Yeah.
Quite a long while. And then a mushroom-based sauce.
Ooh.
Which I love mushrooms.
So do I.
And I don't use it a lot because Angela's not a big mushroom fan and my kids are on the fence. So that would be a nice one to use.
Do they say what kind of mushrooms?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I want that to be a surprise when it comes out.
I already think that's going on stroganoff for me. Haven't even tried it yet. Something about a mushroom hot sauce sounds good on stroganoff.
Yeah, I love stroganoff. Well, stroganoff, it's a mushroom cream-based sauce in that beef. Yeah, I love beef stroganoff.
This guy's creative.
Yeah, no,
I like it.
And that's the thing with a lot of these guys is they're making sauce that they like for themselves. Like when I asked them which sauce should we do, Whiz Wit or Red Jupiter, Whiz Wit came out first, so that kind of made them lean that way. And its uniqueness of I've never seen another company do nutritional yeast in a sauce. I did have at the Boston show Nuke's hot sauce out of Portland. They had a nutritional yeast seasoning that had heat, a little bit of heat. I haven't used it yet, but I bought a canister of it. He said sprinkle that on popcorn, put it on top of like your veggies, whatever you want. That would be an interesting one to try. I did go a little bit into cheesesteak history. I didn't know if you did anything with that.
I touched on cheesesteaks a little bit. I have two facts about cheesesteaks.
You do yours because I have a couple, and I'm fine if you took some of mine.
All right, let me pull these up a second.
And once we do the cheesesteak facts, I'm gonna
finish.
dive into this
I'm gonna finish the day off with more Mammoth facts, though. So, I think someone's trying to slide a chair into the candy drawer.
Yeah, someone's gonna get some fruit snacks for sure.
So, I went into Cheese Whiz consumption.
Okay.
How many pounds of Cheese Whiz spread cheese have you had in the last 7 days? And this was a poll. How many people do you think used a pound or more in the last 7 days?
See, me personally, I would say that has to be a low number because I don't know the last time I've used Cheese Whiz. Wait, who are they polling? Just the U.S. or?
Yep, U.S. population. How many pounds of Cheese Whiz spread cheese have you used in the last 7 days at the time of this survey?
How many people said a pound?
A pound or more.
20%.
Give me a number.
Oh, how many people
how
out
many
of
people?
Out of how many?
The U.S. population. So
out of the U.S. population,
about 320 million.
Oh my gosh,
this is kind of gross. Now that I think about it,
I'm gonna say 30 million because I said 10%, or I went down. I'm going down. No, 60 million for my 20% ish.
Okay,
all right.
It's not that gross. 5.22 million.
Okay,
that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
Yeah. Which
if you do percentage though, like if someone said, hey, like 1% of everybody like does it, like 1.5% is probably the number there.
Yeah. So
I don't feel.
I'm gonna do some math. So let's say 320 million people divided by 5. Oh, 1.6%.
Yeah. So like if you say that number, it's like, oh, that's not a lot. But then when you break it down to the amount of people that means, yeah, that's kind of insane.
But also going off from that, so let's see. So 3.54 million people used between a half pound and 3/4 of a pound. 8 million used a quarter pound or less, and 2.29 used none. So based off from that, a lot of people use more than a pound in the last 7 days.
Yeah, that's
a lot.
I make a macaroni and cheese that takes like 2 pounds of cheese. So if I made that week, it is, I am doubling up
your cheese intake for the year.
Playing off of that though, one of the facts I saw is that Cheese Whiz at restaurants, like when you get cheesesteak with Cheese Whiz, is actually more real cheese than a jarred supermarket or canned Cheese Whiz.
Hold up. So is Cheese Whiz like saying Q-tip?
I think so.
Or Kleenex?
I think so.
Like hand me a Q-tip is probably off-brand, but
I think that's what it is. So, and then do you know, all right, so I'm going to start with the origin of the cheesesteak.
Okay.
It's a quick one. It was invented in the 1930s by Pat Oliveri. There is a place in Philly known for its cheesesteak that's been around forever called Pat's King of Steaks in South Philly. That is the Pat in the story. He owned a hot dog cart. He wanted to make his own lunch, so he threw some steak on an Italian roll. A cab driver drove by and asked for one too, and decided I should probably make these.
Right.
And then basically started making cheesesteaks. He added cheese in the 1940s, and then when ordering in Philly, there are rules. I also found out that at different places there's different rules because there's Pat's King of Steaks, there's a Geno's. There was another site that I found that there's we're the best since 1970, and I'm like, all right, there's like a 40-year cushion.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're the best, but okay. I don't know I've never been there, so I don't know. But there's 2 rules when ordering. First, you got to say what cheese you want. There's 3 types of cheese.
Didn't know that.
Do you know what cheese options there would be?
Cheese Whiz.
That's a clear one.
Cheddar. No, sorry. What? Swiss?
Close. It's a white
American?
cheese. Well, American's another one, and then provolone.
Provolone.
So you start by saying your cheese, and then the second thing is you say wit or without. They literally spell that W-I-T and W-I-D-O-U-T.
Oh, wit out?
Wit or without.
That's so funny.
Do you know what the wit or without is? It's in an ingredient in the sauce.
Whiz Wit. Onions, yeah.
Wit or without onions.
Really? They
say that if you are trying it for the first time, you should try it with onions because...
That scared me.
This guy just fell.
Oh, the studio's falling apart.
Oh, that terrified me. That was one that I had to place back up there, so...
I thought it was your kid blowing through the floor.
Oh my God. I almost peed myself. So they say if you haven't tried it before, you should try with the onions because the caramelized onions have a...
So they encourage you to try it with the onions first.
Yeah, because they're not as strong of a flavor when you caramelize the onions, when you cook them down. So they recommend that. So you always say, like, if you wanted a Cheese Whiz cheesesteak with onions, you say Whiz Wit, like the sauces. Really? Or you go provolone without.
I feel like I'm learning a new language.
I know. That's
very
literally
specific.
what it felt like. Yeah. And then they say if there's any other toppings that they offer, you say that after the fact.
Yeah.
But then I read one where says, like, there's one restaurant that flips it, that does onions and then cheese. And I'm like, well, I can't. Like, I'm already paranoid enough because they're like, if you go there and you're green, they said, like, politicians that go to these places get mocked. Like John Kerry when he was running for office. Like, that might have been why he lost. He went up and he didn't know how to order.
Right.
I don't want to impersonate like I'm from Philly. I just don't want to embarrass myself or get sent to the back of the line because these places have huge lines.
Yeah.
So that was the interesting thing on that. There was also something that I read, and I didn't write it down, but then as I thought about it, I'm like, that is way more that's super interesting. During the Depression, there was a rumor for Pat's King of Steaks that he used horse meat from World War I cavalry horses. And it got to a point where he said, if anyone can bring me proof that I use horse meat, I will give them $10,000. And apparently he had a jar with the cash in there.
Yeah.
People would try to come up and prove it. No one could prove that it was true. But then in the notes on this fact, they said the reason no one can prove it was true is because the person that started the rumor was Pat. Which is genius. Now I don't know if the legitimacy of that, but I just read that.
It might be illegal today. But...
Oh yeah, but in the 1930s and 40s,
exactly.
Like who?
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I was just like, that is bold.
Yeah,
because like right now, if somebody started a rumor that was so believed that someone's like, oh, you don't go to that place, they use horse meat.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, you could use that as a promotional tool.
Yeah.
But you're also probably going to lose customers, but it's so really good.
It's like, I picture Aldi right now, like Homer Simpson just like slowly stepping back into the bushes.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that was the interesting history on the cheesesteak, just a little bit of it, because while it is cheesesteak inspired, it goes on other things. But do you have any more facts?
I do.
Before you do.
Okay.
Let's pour some sauce on this and wishbone the sandwich.
This is the manliest way I've ever cut a sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh, that actually worked out real well.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I think
there's cheese in the bottom.
Yeah, I earned my wish because I...
Oh, shoot.
Oh, my wish was that my child would be super upset. All right, so let's try this. Yeah,
cheers.
Yeah.
It was like a match made in heaven.
It's perfect.
Like, do people who eat Philly cheesesteaks know about this?
I mean, I'm sure he's promoting it that way.
I'd have a booth set up right out in front of all these places. Just be like, put this on that.
Yeah.
And people would eat that up.
Like, I don't know how it would work in Philadelphia where the sandwich places are so sacred.
Yeah.
But if...
He might get beat up
if I had that sauce and there was a place like literally like Big Sean's.
Yeah, you got to go like one town over from the OGs.
Yeah.
So you don't get beat up.
But if I went to Big Sean's and I was like, hey, listen, here is a sauce. Sell it with your cheesesteak as like, get it with a bottle. It would sell like gangbusters. Or if you had an event that had a food truck that had cheesesteaks.
I'm going to put this on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got that flavor so dialed in to like a niche thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I put a huge douse on my first bite.
Yeah. I see it.
And I'm still packing it on there. Every bite I put more on. But like I'm adding 2 existing sauce. I'm not doing 1 sauce per bite.
Yeah, that was
I just
already
keep adding
sauced.
more.
That's
I'm saucing my sauce 3 times.
that's surprising.
Man, I'm spilling out.
It does have really good heat though. We've burned through half this bottle.
Yeah. Man, that's good. I borrow one of these napkins.
Mm-hmm.
I know you kind of said no, but we need the ASMR microphones. Like if we're going to do this, we need to have a mic in our throat.
I can hear the napkins so well right now.
So, one of my other facts while you're chewing over there.
Yeah.
All right, guess the state whose, well, I already gave it part of it away. So, distracted by this cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Guess the state whose #1 favorite cheese is Cheese Whiz.
Wisconsin.
No. It's a no-brainer.
Oh, Philadelphia?
No, I'm just messing with you.
Or Pennsylvania?
Nope. that was misleading. It's an East Coast state.
Really?
Yep. Out of all cheeses, this is this state's favorite cheese is Cheese Whiz.
Is it Florida?
No.
Florida would be a Cheese Whiz. Like, oh, we got a cheese board. It's just cans of Cheese Whiz.
It's like a Michigan charcuterie board is like spam, or a UP charcuterie board is spam.
That would be good. That would be funny. Do like there's fancy and then there's rural. No, what state would it be?
Delaware.
Really?
I don't know the association, but Delaware's voted their favorite cheese as, what would you say, Delawareans? Delawareans voted their favorite cheese as Cheese Whiz.
Delwars. I don't know. That sounds like a Star Wars species. No, that's... Huh. For some reason, I don't know why. I assume Delaware is just like more fancy. I don't know what it is.
I couldn't tell you anything about Delaware.
That's the thing is, I don't know.
It's on the East Coast.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it. It's just
by the ocean.
For some reason, like Delaware, Vermont, like all that stuff in there. For some reason, I don't think of it for Maine. I don't think of it for New York or Massachusetts, but it's just like those two. I'm like, oh.
Vermont's a sleeper of a state.
Yeah.
Courtney and I drove through. It was beautiful. And there's ski resorts everywhere. It was really cool. I want to go back. We didn't get to hang out there, but just driving through it was just beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know how much we'll do food on the podcast, but this was really good. That was fantastic.
I couldn't help but eat the whole thing.
I know. It's like I was going to do a bite and then just like set it down. And then I was like...
That was good. And that's got a good heat. I like that.
Yeah.
For me, that's pretty tingly.
The tip of my tongue is like...
Yeah.
Really, really sizzling. So
man, I like that. I'm real happy with that.
But yeah, that
just makes me want to crack this Mad Jupiter even more right now.
I know. We're going to do a quick fire. I'm sure it's going to happen sooner rather than later because once you try a sauce maker and get a kind of a feel for the depth of flavor they do, like you just want to get into it. And this is, the Red Jupiter. We'll talk about it on the quick fire, but so you have one more mammoth fact for us?
Yeah, and it's a cool one, but it's really depressing to me because I just missed mammoths.
Oh, no.
So
I don't want to be sad.
The final resting place of woolly mammoths was Wrangell Island in the Arctic.
Okay.
Although most of the woolly mammoth population died out by 10,000 years ago, a small population of 500 to 1,000 mammoths, which is a lot. Like a small population, you think about 1,000 mammoths, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Lived on Wrangell Island until 1650 BC. That's only about 3,600 years ago. For context, Egyptian pharaohs were midway through their empire, and it was about 1,000 years after the Giza pyramids were built.
Okay, so
if you think about mammoths in the snapshot of like human time and where we are right now, like we just missed them.
Yeah, I mean, in the big picture of things, it's kind of like how we talk about, or I've seen things talk about, like everyone thinks of the USA as like this great country and like they've been doing all these great things. It's like, do you realize like 250 years
we just got here?
We just showed up to the party. Like
we're still taking our shoes off at the door.
Like I think you talked about going to Italy and seeing stuff.
Yeah, like you pass a building in Grand Rapids, it's like established 1870, and people are like, "That is so old."
It is.
But you go by a building in Italy, and it just says like established 7, and that's like an average building there.
I just looked this up as a fun fact for my fun fact board at work. The last VCR was built in 2016.
They don't manufacture them at all?
No.
Really?
That was the last one. by some Japanese company that they don't do them anymore.
All right. Now we're way off in the weeds. I'm waiting for the last blockbuster to buy out Netflix.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. That's the ultimate.
That's the
ultimate comeback.
The definition of rope-a-dope. It's just it's like waiting, and it's the front line. They're just telling him to hold. I think it's Gladiator. Just tell him to hold.
Oh, 300.
300.
Yeah, there you go.
Just tell him to hold. And it's like, come on, like you got. Finally, Blockbuster's like, now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so yeah, Netflix not a sponsor this week.
Yeah, but Blockbuster, maybe they'll jump in.
We should see if we can get the final Blockbuster to headline this episode. That actually
Where
be
is
sweet.
the final Blockbuster?
There's a documentary on it. I think it's in like Wisconsin or something.
Okay.
It's in a weird place.
Michigan has there's a fast food chain, Hot and Now.
Yeah.
One spot left in Michigan still.
Is it really?
Sturgis. Anyway.
Yeah.
Mammoth Sauce Company, like I said, they've been following us forever, so we do appreciate the support on that. We are excited to have finally got to try the sauce, and it's something we're really excited. We might have to get a second bottle because we both have some strong ideas that probably won't.
3 inches of cheesesteak and that bottle's almost gone.
We were sampling a lot though, but the cheesesteak did take a lot of it. Just a couple special thanks for this episode. We did talk about Mammoth Sauce Company. They made a wet burrito based off of our conversations. This is the first time that we didn't really go in depth on wet burrito in a while. Mm-hmm. And then
hold on, guess what's for dinner tonight at the old Michael household?
I do know that it's wet burrito, but my first guess would have always been fish tacos. But you did fish tacos with the red snapper that we posted about this weekend. That was really good.
Fish taco floodgates. They're bursting at the seams right now, and we're about to open those.
Do you prefer a fried battered fish, or do you prefer like fresh fish on a taco?
Fresh blackened.
Fresh blackened?
Yep.
Okay. I do like sometimes like that airy, like tempura battered fish, but you can only do it so much.
Yeah. That's a very Midwestern way to do it. It's very heavy.
Yeah. We have to do a fish taco episode.
Oh, for sure.
Best fish taco sauce.
Fish taco off.
Fish taco off. We have a few different foods for that. But Hook and Arrow, a sauce company that I met in Boston, super nice guys. They actually, the last Hot Sauce Summit, they were not officially Hook and Arrow yet. They hadn't gone official. They were at the Hot Sauce Fest. They did a wet burrito, posted about it, said some really great things about us, which we appreciate. But the photography of that burrito, drizzled sour cream on top.
For a first one, that was a good looking wet burrito.
I looked at that, I'm like, I don't know if I've ever made one that pretty before.
Yeah.
I've eaten ones that pretty at a restaurant. And we're going to try a couple more wet burritos in Grand Rapids and share some more reels because the Beltline Bar one, while the original, it has some competition. According to Mike, there's one that's better. So I'll have to see if that's true because I'm the non-biased. I just want wet burritos.
And here's the thing. I love the Beltline Bar.
It was great. It was better than I remembered it because I hadn't had it in a while. Mm-hmm. Like over a year, I feel like. The other special things, Stinky Sauce, they came out with 2 new flavors, which we will be trying on Quickfire episodes. We ordered it when it came out so fast that they didn't get to send the samples they were going to send us anyway. So they sent us some extra bottles of their original sauces. So we now each have a bottle to take home and a bottle to try. So there won't be any battle over which one takes it home and uses it. But also, they told us, fun fact, we were the first purchasers of their 13-ounce honey mango habanero bottle, which I think you and your wife might finish by end of the week.
I might hide it from her because she probably ate most of it. She took a couple bites of it and she goes, I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but loosely paraphrased, can you get more of this stuff?
What you need to do is either take the original bottle, pour it in, funnel it in, or buy I'm looking at getting for my dad for Father's Day because we have some sauces that we bought as like a understanding that once I try it, he's going to get some. Mm-hmm. Like he's going to get a little bit of the sauce. And so I found like 3 or 4 ounce squeeze bottles. Yeah. Fill those up. Then he can use them kind of as he wants. But that's one that you might want to like portion out.
Yeah.
The third pairing I want to thank is Scott from Scott Sauce and Eddie from Stinky Sauce as well. They had a prep video, live Instagram video about the Hot Sauce Summit coming up. They had some really awesome things to say about the podcast. It was funny. Eddie talked about how there were things that we talked about on the episode that him and his brother were like, how did he know about that? Did you know it? And it was a point of pride where I'm like, to me, that's good. I say journalism, but it's podcasting. That's good journalism up to the point of just kind of creepy.
Someone being very suspicious.
Like how did he know that? And it's like, if it's on a podcast interview, a written interview, I'm hopefully going to find it.
Peoplefinder.com.
And the biggest compliment on that was they went from that to saying that's what Hot Ones does so well. And just being in the same breadth of their research, which is like, there's compilations of just, wow, that's a really good question. Like just that phrase by every person. That's kind of the guiding star. Some of these hot sauce makers look at established hot saucers, Lucky Dog, Yellow Bird, these established ones. For me, it's Hot Ones interviewing skills, research skills. Mm-hmm. So it's a special thanks to all of them out there. If you did stick around to the end of the episode, this one's a little bit of a longer one. We do want to just ask that if you liked it, please leave a review, rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. I don't think we have one yet.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting on our first review.
I also don't fully know. I know how to check on Spotify and Apple, and I know Google didn't have really any. Mm-hmm. People don't use the Google podcast as much. Not a sponsor, but we would if you guys will have us. But I don't know about the other ones. So I just know that the two main ones didn't have one. So if you do leave a review, definitely would appreciate it, and we can give you a shout out on here if you're a sauce maker or if you're just working on something else and want to mention it on there, we'll shout you out. But definitely check out Mammoth Hot Sauce Company. Go to their website. They've got the 2 sauces. I'm assuming that this Mad Jupiter is going to be just as amazing as this one. So I'd be excited. Follow us on Instagram at the Heat Source Podcast for any updates, for any memes. Just had one today, my Star Wars meme, because I knew we'd be talking Star Wars. And just feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, if you have any recommendations. We always like to ask the sauce makers after an episode what sauces they would recommend. So we have a list just from that we're going to go off of once we run out of the 70-some sauces in stockpile. But yeah, just let us know and reach out to us. But until next time, I think that's it. When we will try, for our main episode, we're going to be trying a Canadian sauce that is a little bit different. This is a little different. We're going even further different on the next one, but I'm not going to spoil it.
I'm with it.
So, are you whiz with it?
I'm with it. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's enough from us, and we will talk to you next week.
Good job, Steve. What kind of clap was that? Are your hands deflated? Your hands sound like they're deflated.
It's the muffling of the sound.
Give me a crisp one.
It wasn't even me saying like I failed. It was me going, come on, guys.
You have no bones left in your hands. Your hands are just flopping together.